Hello, and welcome back to the Simple Politics podcast. I'm Diane Daniels, and this has been the week where local elections have got underway in parts of England, where Donald Trump has marked 100 days in office, and where the weather's been absolutely amazing.
Is this what we do now?
This is what we
Do we
do.
do like a little recap of three things at the top of the show?
Yeah,
That's so professional.
I know.
But you had three things, and one of them was the weather.
Yes, very important. Very important. Yes. Yeah, it could be a climate change kind of conversation, really.
Yeah, but you weren't going with that. You were just going with, I got my shorts out.
I did. I
Like,
did.
I'm recording this in shorts. Yeah.
Oh, lovely listener. You won't be able to see, but I will just tell you that Tatton has very much professionalized his workspace. And if you could see him now, he looks like he's in some kind of I described it as an evil villain's headquarters, but it's not. It's very professional, and it looks great.
For 1 week only. So enjoy. Yeah. Yeah. Listen, my day started so well today because I went to vote.
Brilliant.
And voting, it's literally my favorite thing in the world. Like,
Wow.
people can be like, "Oh, what about chocolate
Yeah.
or sex or champagne
Yes.
or I don't know." I'm like, no, voting is my favorite thing to do in the world.
Oh.
There's a little booth and there's a list of names and you get to choose one. I just love it. Even though I think it's quite a safe seat where I'm at in the council, I just love it, and it started really well.
Ah,
And then I tried to professionalize my podcast game, and it went really badly. It's been a lot of swearing in the last hour. So I'm pleased that, Diane, you think it's nice. And I know that some people do watch this on Patreon immediately or a bit later on YouTube. So enjoy this expanse and weep when it's gone.
wow. That was a roller coaster. But you mentioned you mentioned Patreon backers, our lovely Patreon backers. We should give them a little mention. Yeah.
Go on, Diane. I talk about Patreon all the time. It's your turn.
All right.
I love Patreon. I'm just going to sit here loving Patreon people and thinking about how wonderful they are while you tell us some stuff about
Yeah.
Patreon.
Yeah.
Oh, Patreon.
Patreon. Like, basically, it's a bit of an exclusive club, and you get to support the podcast, but also it's like a club where you get some stuff as well. So you can get like exclusive access, you can get the video footage of this podcast, like the unedited with all the bloopers. There are more bloopers than this, by the way, with all of the bloopers in. You know,
It's normally Diane.
it's normally me. You can get to ask us questions, certain tiers. You can get a little phone call even with us. There's all sorts of stuff going on depending on what level you go for on Patreon. But it starts the kind of entry level starts at £3 a month, which is really great. And we'd love you to join that club, and we'd love to be giving you shout outs and all that stuff. So take a look. So it's patreon.com/simple politics. And if for whatever reason you can't do that, and we get that, we really do, tell people about the podcast, leave us a review, a good review, and just spread the word.
Do you know what? Thank you, Diane. I mean, that's clearly why you should do it every week. One thing I would add, kind of not something we advertise about Patreon, is that when we get it wrong, it's super easy for you to get in touch. And we were talking about the legal definition of the word woman in the Equality Act as all that last week. And someone who chats quite a lot to us on Patreon was like, I'm not sure you got it right there. And I think when we spoke to them, and they, I'm not sure we ended up agreeing, but I hope they understood where we're coming from. But I also had an email about it from someone, and what they were saying was that I got it wrong last week, because I said the Equality Act, when it was first drafted, didn't talk about trans people, and they put a link to exactly in the Equalities Act where trans people were mentioned, and I got that wrong. And thank you very much for telling me and pointing it out to me, and I'm happy to correct the record. It was there in the original act, so apologies for getting that wrong.
Cool. There you go. Great stuff. Thank you. Let's move on to top posts of the week. This is where we take a look at the top 3 posts based on likes, shares, comments, all that good stuff on our social media. So, in at number 1, what we got, Tatton?
Nope.
Oh, in at number
What?
3. Oh,
Yes,
I'm so
yes.
bad at charts. Right, there we go.
Where would the tension be? If we let her one, everyone would just switch off immediately. If they're still listening. In a 3 was the sugar tax. Because it's going up. It's a consultation, and what happens is when the government want to do something, but they want you to get used to the idea first, they do a consultation. I don't think I've ever really seen a policy change.
Mm,
Like, not a big policy change. There may be details tinkering at the sides, but generally, once they're consulting you, once they put out what's called a green paper on it, like, it's happening.
mm,
Okay, so sugar tax has generally been called a success because sugar companies themselves have reduced the amount of sugar available. Like, often you see Coca-Cola, fat Coke available in like a smaller tin than you get the Coke Zero. So they end up being the same price with the tax. So we now drink less sugar in sugary drinks than we used to. And now they're coming after our milkshakes.
mm.
Because there used to be a milk exemption because calcium's really good for you. So get that calcium in you. Like, I used to really enjoy, I don't know if they still make them, fridge milkshakes, like white bottles with the word fridge misspelt on the side.
Yes.
I'm sure you've seen them.
Yeah. Yeah.
I used to love them. And then someone told me how much sugar there was in one of those bottles, and like, it's a week's worth of sugar. Like, it's just ludicrous. But previously, that's been exempt from the sugar tax. Not anymore. Milk and milkshakes and your coffees in your tins. Where
Mm.
it's like, oh, it's a latte, but there's no coffee in it. It's just milk and sugar. I'm just a snob because I like black sugar, black coffee. So it's going to change. More sugar tax. Oh, sugar tax has been quite successful. Let's do more of that.
So this is a really interesting point. We had quite a few comments on it, and I know I'm skipping ahead, and it's not the right section, but we did have a question on specifically on the sugar tax from Paul on Instagram, because he said, "How do we know that it has actually been successful in reducing obesity?" And doesn't it raise a question about sugar alternatives? Is that
Yeah, I mean, it's like aspartame
mm,
is illegal in America and guns are legal in America. So the Americans think that aspartame is more dangerous than guns, which is quite saying quite a lot. I don't know. Listen, I don't know. If sugar is the worst thing,
mm,
then getting rid of sugar is good. But it's about, do you know what? It's about changing behavior and changing what people want and changing tastes and changing culture. McDonald's offer you carrots instead of fries when you go in, but no one does it.
mm,
Like, we need a culture shift with our food.
mm,
I was talking yesterday to a friend of mine about the French and food, and how the French have a really good attitude towards food, but Gen Z in France doesn't have that good an attitude towards food because of globalization, because of global trends, because they see everything else. No one in Europe is immune to McDonald's, is immune to KFC, is immune to Coca-Cola, all that stuff. And also, our lives are so busy and so stressful. Picking up a quick sandwich and a bag of crisps for your lunch, like a meal deal, is affordable and easy,
mm,
right?
mhm,
And it's also one of the worst possible lunches you could have in terms of diet and things like that. So
Mm.
does the sugar tax help? It helps people. We are consuming a little bit less sugar. Someone said, oh, it's only 1 or 2 calories per person, but it's not 1 or 2 calories per person because the people who have really cut down have cut down loads, and other people have cut down not at all.
Mm.
So it's not evenly distributed as in one per person.
Mm.
If we really want to deal with inherent and endemic food issues, we need to look at food poverty. We need to look at school and education. We need to look at so many different things. It's a really, really tricky question, and one I've got no answer to.
Mm.
Um, I made a fish pie. I don't eat fish, but for Casey and Elliot the other day, and I put so much cream in it, and they loved it because bad for you stuff tastes really good,
Yeah.
and that's a
Yeah.
fundamental problem.
Yeah, it is. But somewhere along the line, there's a conversation about balance, right? And like,
Mm.
you know, we all want to have a bottle of fizz and a cake on our birthdays, but we don't do that every day. It's just balance, isn't it? But
Have you seen? But it's portion size within balance. These new kind of mug cups. I think that people have water in them, but whatever, like the massive supersized cups that we get. And I mean, in America, you're kind of constrained by the cup size in your car, right? So the bottom bit is small, but then it goes out like some kind of megaphone, like to the top. And you can fit liters and liters in there. So the liquid in there doesn't have to be very bad for you before 2 liters of it makes it a lot bad for you. So yeah, balance and portion size and expectations, and
Mm,
you know,
yeah, it's a big area, definitely huge. Right, let's move on to number 2. Okay, this is the phrase headphone dodgers. The headline headphone dodgers has been everywhere this week. And it's not a phrase that 7 days ago I would have even ever used. But somebody in the communications team somewhere in Lib Dems Central has come up with this as a way to describe the antisocial behavior of people sitting on trains and buses and listening to content, probably on TikTok or whatever, just very loudly, so loudly that it's annoying everyone around them. And actually, I've got a friend who very often posts, they call it tales from the train, about these kinds of people who are either very loudly listening to some influencer stuff or very loudly having the kind of conversation you'd probably keep private with your other half. So
what in Devon? This stuff doesn't happen in
Oh,
Devon. Devon's all like coastal stuff and cream teas with the cream somewhere. I don't
yeah,
know.
we've got the internet though, so,
Do
we do,
you?
we do. We've been on
Ah.
since 2019. Yeah.
Boris Johnson sorted it right out for you. Well done, well done, well done, Johnson.
But it's incredible what the Lib Dems are suggesting, and I don't think they really mean this because they said £1,000 fine. I mean, that feels disproportionate and potentially unenforceable. But they make a
Mm,
good point that it is very annoying.
mm.
Um,
And Keir Starmer, they asked Keir Starmer about it, didn't they,
yes,
at Prime Minister
yeah, yeah.
Questions, and he was like, "We're dealing with antisocial behaviour."
Mm,
Like so often at the moment, it feels like things are being called for to have been legislated on, and they're actually already legislated. Like it is already. If you're being disruptive and a public nuisance with your phone,
mm,
that's antisocial behaviour, and there's already up to £1,000 fine
mm.
for it. So it's virtue signaling from the Liberal Democrats, but it is also this in the lead up to the local
Local.
elections,
Mm.
and they are showing how much they care about literally the man on the bus. Like
Yeah.
they talk about the man on the bus quite a lot, the
Mm,
Clapham omnibus, in terms of elections, but they're demonstrating that they care and they're aware of what the issues and they're there on the street.
mm.
I think it's a very good national campaign that they can talk about locally. Uh, Of course, it's not like, so this is an amendment to another bill that's going through. So there will be a vote on it, and everyone's going to vote against it. And then they can go, oh, Labour voted against. Labour want you to have to listen to their music. Like, it's a political game.
Yeah.
Um, but I think as a political game, I think it's quite a good one.
Mm. Yeah, certainly got everyone talking.
Mhm.
And what made it to number one this week?
Well, Headphone Dodgers got everyone talking, but not as much as this because, oh, I'm a bit emotional about this story, you know?
Mm.
Um, in October, November last year, we were joined by Lottie Smith, who is our video person. She's editing this podcast. She's on the call right now, but she's not going to say anything. And she's really rather marvelous. We've become good friends, as well as anything else. And she is getting married in July, and she's getting married to the lovely Ellie. I don't know Ellie so well, but I've met her a few times. She's just lovely, and they're both so lovely. I love them both, and they're getting married. Just I'm slightly jealous of both of them. I want to marry both of them a little bit. I'm also getting married in July though, so I can't say too much about that. But they're getting married. They're getting married here in Whitstable, and basically marriages are well expensive. So this was officially a simple money post.
Mhm.
It's about how to save money on weddings, and like they had their non-negotiables. They wanted to be by the sea in the summer, right? Those were non-negotiables. They wanted to have Eddie's parents like run this beer company, which is one reason she's such a catch, right? Which her parents run a beer company, and they wanted to use that beer. They didn't want to go somewhere where they're going to be served Stella Artois. They wanted to go somewhere where they could bring their own beer and all of this stuff. And they found somewhere, and literally everything else, they were like, no, we're not going to pay for that. So they got married on a Thursday, and that's saving them like a load of money. And they got like their big fancy meal, their wedding breakfast is local fish and chips. And it's like that's not a sacrifice. That's
No,
so much
so
cooler
good. Yeah.
than think of all the terrible food you've eaten at a wedding,
Mm.
right? Whereas it's just fish and chips, get it in. I don't know if you've got Savoy coming as well, but maybe a couple of there is Savoy. I'm getting a nod. There is not just fish and chips, Savoy there too. This is amazing. And then pudding. Like I never eat pudding really. So I'm sitting at a wedding. I'm only drinking by that point. I'm just having another glass of wine while other people. I'm not a pudding guy. They're having an ice cream van.
Mm.
Like, so it's an experience,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
Again, it's not just cheaper, it's better.
Yeah. Yeah.
They've been creative, they've been intelligent, they're so wonderful. And we were like we're working on this post, all of us together. Because Lottie was obviously very involved in this post. It was just lovely. It's just such a wonderful experience.
Mm.
And they're gonna be very, very happy. And I'm very, very happy.
Yeah. And it's lovely to sometimes just see a little bit more of the team as well. And I think it's nice to share on the page, isn't it? Because
Mm.
we talk about some big, heavy subjects and politics, especially, but behind it, we've all got lots of stuff going on, and it's lovely to see that and to share it a little bit with you. So, yeah, amazing. More wedding chat to come, I would say, probably.
Oh yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. So, let's go to the meal bag. We're going to start off with a voice note, which I love because I love voice notes.
Oh, I've got a voice note. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I'm going to play it now. It's a voice note from Anwin. So just bear with me and I shall get it and play it down the line.
Patreon people, you get this. Imagine the pain of missing out on this moment. This is why you subscribe.
Yeah, this is why it's all very profesh. Right, you ready? Yeah,
I should learn to juggle for these
you
moments.
should.
Hi, Team SP. So, given how well smaller parties in the UK have done recently, like how many parties managed to get seats in the last general election, and how the Lib Dems and Reform are continuing to do really well in the opinion polls, I was wondering if you think that we're moving from a two-party system to a multi-party system, and if we are, then how do you think that that might affect people's voting behaviour at things like the upcoming local elections and also for future general elections? Thank you.
Oh, good voting question. Are we moving away from two-party politics?
Right, I'm going to get my psephologist's hat on now. When I think about this, I blame Steve Jobs
Okay.
because before Steve Jobs, everyone listened to albums, right? The whole thing, you get your tape out, you put it in, your CD, you put it in. And then Steve Jobs, well, and Napster, I suppose, but I don't know who runs Napster, made it about listening to your songs on shuffle and your top songs and taking it away from anything else. And now we have an expectation that we just have to have all filler, or excuse me, all killer, no filler all the time. So a party like Labour are really struggling at the moment because they've done some unpopular stuff. They've also done some stuff that people think is good. You know, this cap on uniform, like number of uniform branded items, people support that idea. They say maybe it's not gone far enough or whatever, but it's an idea people support. But there is an unwillingness to take the rough with the smooth. You just want smooth all the time. And that's one of the reasons Reform are doing well, is because they've got no history to defend. They've got no time in government to say, oh yeah, that was a bit difficult. Same with the Greens. You know, the Lib Dems, we're just talking about them. They can talk about headphone dodgers, like, and it works. They've got no, apart from the coalition government quite a long time ago now, they've got nothing to defend. So the big two have to defend their current record or their recent record. And with the pandemic, those records are tough. So we don't want to be Labour for life anymore, or a deep-rooted conservative who's always going to do that. We want to shop around a bit more. We're going to look at different policies. The internet allows you to just be interested in Gaza and nothing else, right, in terms of who you follow. Or you can just be interested in house building or whatever it might be. You can pick your flavor.
Yeah.
And if you're just picking your flavor on one thing, then sure, there's loads of parties that might tickle your fancy because they've got the best policy on climate change. Whatever. Local elections always see more people voting for different parties because wards are smaller. Lots of resident associations, which are basically local independent people who just care about their own area. Some councils are completely run by resident associations, although that tends to be more at the city council, parish council level. And then general elections, people tend to go back.
Back to the party they knew, right?
They put their wedding ring back on
Yeah.
and slink home to the wife, right? Because it's a bit scary having all these other parties.
And because
I
yeah,
think, just finally
yeah,
on
yeah.
that, Dan, I think that it is going to go the other way at some point. I think people will go back to the point of the Conservatives and the Labour Party is their broad churches. And you can be a conservative who believes in a lot of different things. Most Reform voters would have fit happily into the Conservative Party 5-10 years ago. So I think that the defragmentation and the first past the post system will mean eventually it'll swing back. Everything's cyclical. It'll swing back again.
Yeah.
Sorry, Diane.
No, I was just gonna agree with you for once and say that
What?
that you talk about the Greens Reform to a lesser extent, maybe the Lib Dems not having a record, and I think when it comes to a general election, that feels scary because there isn't that history to base it off. You're kind of now thinking, about them actually running the NHS, the big stuff, and you're thinking,
Mhm.
can they do it? We're not sure. We've never seen it before. So,
I think, but this is my concern.
mm,
We're recording this on the day of the local election, so we don't know the results. If Reform do win loads and loads of councillors,
mm,
my concern is this: if you're a Labour councillor, you could have been a councillor for 20 years. And then when you retire, someone else comes in to be a councillor, and there's councillors for various degrees of experience of how to run a council.
mm,
Reform's councillors are all new,
mm.
presumably. I mean, there might be some who used to be Conservative
Yeah.
councillors have now defected or whatever. But generally, Reform's councillors, because Reform is a new party, will be new people. So you might have, and this is no shade on them, I mean, they're doing really well for a new party, but you might have a council being run by people with very little experience. And without the experience around the table, it's always good to have new people,
Oh, yeah. But
but it's nice to have 10 people who've been
yeah.
doing it 10, 15, 20 years as well around the table to help guide and help with things.
Mm,
Things are tough for county councils, and I hope that there is more experience than I'm worried about,
mm,
is all.
mm. Okay, well, we'll see. As you're probably listening to this, results will be coming in, so do keep checking out the page because we'll be covering it all. And I think we've probably answered Will's question. Have we got time for a 60-second on Hannah's question? I just want to cover everyone this week. Let's see if we can do
What's
it.
I know? The Will's question's about. So Will's question, I can see it in front of me. It
Yeah.
says, "Now that the local elections are here, what impact do they have on national
Mm,
politics?" Well, no, Labour are going to do fine. Reform are going to do really well. The Conservatives are going to do spectacularly badly. Will Kemi Badenoch leave? Who knows? Probably yes, possibly no. She will say, "I haven't had enough time." And it depends. The Conservative Party are famously knives out for their leaders.
mm,
The Conservative Party get rid of
yes.
leaders quick.
Yeah. Like football
Um,
managers. That's
I mean, they went through Ian Duncan Smith, William Hague, Michael Howard before they got David Cameron when they're in opposition.
mm,
That's 4 leaders they chopped through.
mm,
So we'll see.
mm. Bro. Finally, then, Hannah asks, in a world of misinformation, how difficult is it to stay authentic?
To stay authentic, well, to spot misinformation online, it's easy. Just ask yourself, could this be untrue? Could this be untrue? And if the answer is yes, then he needs to do some research. If it's no, then believe it. To stay authentic, it's easy. Just tell the truth.
Mm.
I stay quite authentic because I'm not clever enough to remember if I've told lies. I would forget what I've told to who. And so that's what I do.
Yeah, top tip. Brilliant. But no,
Oh, I was going to say you don't have to remember anything. It's easy.
yeah,
Lies are complicated.
they are. They are. Okay, thank you. That was a really good range of questions this week. So keep them coming. We love your questions, and particularly voice notes. They always just make our day when they come in. So yes, let's move on and chat about in the main section this week net zero. It's been all over the headlines this week. I mean, mainly thanks to Tony Blair. He keeps coming back, doesn't he? Because
He just loves it.
he does, because obviously he's involved quite a lot with think tanks and policy research, and so he pops up every now and again to say something, and it's generally very headline grabbing what he says.
But look at John Major and Gordon Brown,
Mm.
who came before and after him. They're just quite happily.
Yeah.
I think John Major runs Lords or something now. No, it's the Oval's his place. He just has to sit there and watch cricket, and that's cool. But we don't hear that much from either of them.
No, but Tony Blair, he's been talking about this whole transition to net zero, and he he said some things. I mean, one of them, he said that short term, if a government tries to kind of curb our use of fossil fuels, really curb it, that it's going to fail. That's what he said, that it's not a good strategy because we
Mhm.
still need fossil fuels. He said as well, like, we can't be telling people, rip out your gas boiler, because actually some people can't afford to do the heat pump stuff still, or their house isn't suitable, or, there's so many things.
The heat pump thing's just
Yep.
nobody has a heat pump. They're incredibly expensive. Like I was taking a walk last Sunday, and we were chatting with Casey later. We're saying that we don't know what a heat pump looks like. We've never seen one in the flesh. No, we saw one. It's like, oh yeah, look, we're there for like 5 minutes. We have fun. Like like some people know that what a heat pump is and know that it's the future for
Mhm.
the thing, but most people do not know what a heat pump even is.
Mm.
I think people in Westminster don't understand how far behind the curve they are, how completely unrepresentative their knowledge, their thoughts are of the country as a whole.
And the thing with net zero is so many people speak about this and the need to bring people with you, because you can't just, otherwise you're just sort of talking about an arbitrary target, aren't you? And you know, net zero by 2050, 2030, clean energy, whatever. You're just talking about these targets and nobody feels connected to them in any way.
Mhm.
And that's yeah. So I guess Tony Blair was trying to address some of that and say that's lacking at the minute, that bringing people along. But like you say, Tatum, when he then talks about what the solutions are and talks about carbon capture and stuff, again, nobody knows what that does.
Mm. I just got an image of the BFG with his little net,
Oh yeah,
his little butterfly net running along trying to capture
yeah, yes, all the
carbon.
carbon, yes, exactly.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's particularly a weakness in any one party or one government. It's just
Nope.
a massive issue.
Yeah.
And, there are things happening at the minute. I know I joked about the weather at the start, but there's that whole thing about this is an
Mhm.
unfathomably hot April.
Mhm.
Well, it was April this week, earlier this week. It's now May. You've got other things like the big power cuts that happened in Spain and Portugal. You've got all this stuff going on
Mhm.
that it's such a big conversation.
Mhm.
And
I mean,
yeah, yeah, really difficult.
because climate change is real,
Mm.
right? We know it's coming, but 2050 isn't real. Like, no one, no one has a grasp of what 2050 is, right? So having a target for 2050 just doesn't. It's meaningless for most people. And then we know there's something else in 2030, but I don't think most people could tell you what there is in 2030. Um, and it's if we're going to hit 2050, we need to make changes now. We need to make big changes now. We need to make sure, the 2030 target is sustainable energy, right?
Mm.
So we're not getting any electricity from anywhere else. That needs to happen. Is it going to happen? We don't know. I mean, we're talking a lot about house building, and to build houses, you need a lot of steel. And we talk a lot in this country about steel. Steel just uses so much energy, so much. Very little of which is green, none of which is green, especially if you're importing the steel from China, which we tend to do because China just pump out loads of the stuff. We have competing. We could say that climate change is our number one priority, but that's not true.
Mm.
Housing people, the NHS,
Mm. Yeah, yeah.
like what are we going to make every hospital have heat pumps
Mm.
rather than boilers? Is that our plan? Of course it's not, because NHS money needs to go on the NHS, needs to go on saving people.
Mm.
And so it gets put back. Rishi Sunak made his famous speech about 7 bins,
Oh, yes. Yes.
which didn't. That was just an odd thing to do. He called an emergency press conference about it. It was just strange. But he was saying we cannot ask people to make sacrifices right now for climate change.
Mm.
We can ask them to recycle, sure, not with 7 bins. We can ask them to recycle. We can, public transport. But if you want people to use public transport and not drive, you've got to invest hugely in infrastructure. Reopen those train lines that were shut in the 70s and 80s. Get buses up and running. It's money, 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 money. And when and it takes outlay first.
So that it's an easy transition for people. Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Nobody is going to take the bus to work if it's a 20-minute walk to the bus station and a 10-minute walk to the bus stop to work,
Mm.
rather than drive when it's only a 40-minute drive, half an hour drive anyway.
Yeah.
Those journeys are going to be made. They're talking about phasing out electric cars, but there isn't nearly the infrastructure to phase out electric cars. I have an electric car because I've got a parking space at my house and I can charge my car right there. If you park on the street, which 80% of the country must do, I don't know, that's a made up stat. How are you going to charge your car?
Mm.
Are we going to have chargers down every single street? Where's that money going to come from?
Mm.
We need to spend the money. We need to spend the money on public infrastructure. We need to do it because otherwise, that target is based on people sacrificing things in their lives, and people don't feel like they've got very much to sacrifice right now. Life is tough. We've just come through a cost of living crisis that's still impacting a lot of people. Life is hard. Don't tell them that they can't have this or they can't have that, because otherwise they will not be on the side of climate
Yeah.
championing, and that's what we need. We need people to want to do that.
We do. We do. Whew. That went deep. That was good.
It matters. It matters. I get full of despair.
Mm.
I get full of despair about climate
Yep.
change because I feel like even we who want to be leaders at it aren't leading. So what can we? People will say, "Oh, what about China? What about India? Whatever." It's like, no. We should be the leaders, and we're nowhere on it because it's hard. If you had an extra billion, if you gave Keir Starmer £1 billion right now, would he spend it on ameliorating climate change problems?
No. I say no. I would say no.
100% not.
Yeah.
They don't teach us wages, probably. I think that's, the next. If you had a bit more money right now, he'd probably do teachers' wages, or maybe NHS.
Yep. Yeah. There we go. We'll come back to this. I think we'll definitely come back to it.
We'll come back to it every year to 2050.
Yeah.
And that's our target. It's got to be 2050, okay? By 2050, we've got to keep doing it.
Right. Let's move on. Let's look at the crystal ball. What is coming up in the next week? I'll go first. There's a few things I've got in my calendar. We've got VE Day anniversary. Oh, wow. We've got I've just seen something on the side of my monitor that Tatton's put on his head. I'll come to in a second. VE Day celebrations next week. That's going to get a lot of attention. Pubs are open. And we
Till 1 a.m.
And the Bank of England will also be talking interest rates, and we know a lot of people that makes a big difference too. So we'll keep an eye on that.
So keep an eye on SM for that as well.
Yeah,
Simple Money is going to be a real place to keep an eye on that. Yeah,
definitely.
Next week is 10 years since I set up Civil Politics.
Yeah.
Just that sentence sounds wild. I'm going to be, just a quick heads up, lovely listeners who've got this deep into this podcast. For you, I have a warning. If you don't like overly sentimental posts, you might just want to skip SP for the next week or so. I'm going to go. It's a lot for me. This whole thing is a lot for me. And 10 years. We've got a special podcast next week, don't we?
Yes, we do, with lots of people coming back. A who's who.
I'm just finalising the list now because we're not recording for a very long time. And it's just everyone who's been massive in SP's history is coming, and it's Yeah, it's gonna be really great, but lots of posts. I think that means the podcast's gonna be a day early, doesn't it? It's gonna be out on Wednesday. It's Wednesday the 8th.
Thursday.
No, Thursday. Yeah, it's gonna be out on Thursday because that's the
Yeah.
actual anniversary. I've got an operation on the 6th, so we'll be partying from my. I'll be home by then. I won't still be in hospital, but I'll be partying on the sofa with that bottle of fizz and cake that Diane was speaking about earlier, but also trying to find a balance so I'm still healthy.
Bro. Oh, it'll be a great week next week. Looking forward to it. So do check out the birthday podcast. It will be special. And yeah, keep an eye on the page next week as well. So thank you for listening. And
Yeah, thank you.
we will see you for the big 10th birthday podcast next week.
Eek.
Bye everyone.
Bye, 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 bye.